Hello and welcome to the President's Podcast, right here on the record with the Ohio Senate. The views the news excludes. I'm your host, the Director of Communication for the Majority Caucus in the Senate, the Republican Caucus. I'm John Fortney. As always, we have Senate President Matt Huffman on, a Republican from Lima, Ohio, and the newest member of the Ohio Senate, State Senator Brian Chavez, who is joining us from Washington County, Ohio. He represents the 30th District, taking over recently for the retiring State Senator Frank Hoagland. Congratulations. Great to have you on.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you.
Now, you have quite the background. Tell us a little bit about, you're in the oil and gas industry right now.
Yes.
Tell me what you do.
So we have a small business where we own and operate over 400 oil and gas wells that are conventional. They're the vertical wells. It was started by my in-laws over 40 years ago. And they gave us an opportunity to move here and be a part of the family business. And we moved here and turned a mom and pop organization into a small business, into a larger business.
And it's amazing how important that industry is right now, not only to the Midwest and the state of Ohio, but really when you talk about the energy grid around the country.
Absolutely. It's critical. It's the driving force to manufacturing. So there's an initiative down in the Washington County area, but it's really for the region. It's called Shell Crescent. And what that does is it's trying to highlight the advantages of this area. We have abundant water, we have a good workforce, and we have a reliable, abundant source of energy. If Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia were its own country, it'd be the third largest natural gas producer in the world, behind the United States, the rest of the United States, and Russia.
You know, the environmental left hates natural gas for some reason. I don't quite understand. President Huffman, you know, we've seen some pushback from members of the media, some editorials out there about natural gas and why are we calling that clean energy, green energy? What's your thoughts about the role of natural gas here in Ohio?
Well, I think we have been, frankly, experimenting with a variety of what are called alternative energy sources. And people want to look past the problems that things like windmills create, especially in my part of the state. It's really, in my mind, become an environmental disaster, and people just don't want to talk about that. But if we want to simply compare the energy output and what is a reliable source of energy, because what citizens of the state of Ohio, what Americans want they want reliable energy that's inexpensive and is going to be available. And that's just, and that is going to come from things like gas and oil. And of course, we use it responsibly, but we're seeing now the automobile companies and what is happening to them because of the Biden requirements that they produce so many EV vehicles. They're sitting on car lots and people aren't buying them. So in the end, the market wins out, and what people want wins out. We do need to, as we say, try to develop these things and do them in an environmentally sound way. That's why it's important to have people like Brian in this industry who know the industry and are going to do that. He's got a family, just like the rest of us. We want to make sure the world is safe, but I don't think that we're going to stop having people make these arguments, because there's a group of people who are making money off of solar panels and wind and a whole variety of other things. And, you know, they keep saying what they're going to say. We're going to keep saying the truth. And, you know, I'm glad that we have an expert now in the industry, in the Senate, who can talk about these things.
Well, you know, solar panels out west when the sun is always shining. That's one thing. But if you want reliable energy here in the Midwest in Ohio, for many years it was coal and some nuclear, but really now it has really gone to the mainstream of natural gas. A lot of plants converting over, or new natural gas generation being constructed, especially in Southeast Ohio.
Absolutely. When you burn natural gas, the byproduct is water vapor and some carbon dioxide. And folks are really concerned about carbon dioxide. So we're looking at the carbon dioxide sequestration, where we pump it underground over a mile deep and encapsulate it. But when we really think about it, every time I'm exhaling carbon dioxide. Whenever you open a soda, it's carbonated. That's carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is a part of the environment. And it's something that we can manage, and it's not a bad thing. In fact, when we go back and look at the historic time, the reasons why the dinosaurs were so big is because there was a lot more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and the earth was warmer. The plants were bigger. They didn't have to work so hard to survive, and they were big. So the earth is always changing, and it's something that we need to be able to understand and not just point fingers and look at the short-term solutions, or short-term manufactured crisis. The green energy moniker is actually very accurate. Natural gas and oil is actually the original green energy. Back when Ohio was a shallow sea, it was the algae and plant life in that shallow sea that was buried over geologic time and compressed deeper and deeper and deeper in the earth. And in part of Ohio, the glaciers came and went through the ice ages and scraped off a lot of that overburden. But in my district now, that's where we have the Marcellus Shale and the Utica Shale. And when you take these 400 wells that we have and you drill one horizontal well, you can capture all that same oil and natural gas that is already there. We're releasing it very efficiently, whereas we were talking about the solar panels, they have a lifetime. And the windmills, they have a lifetime. So you have to make new solar panels, new windmills. And in my opinion, energy should not cost more to produce than what you get out of it.
Right, and it needs to be reliable and affordable, and that's the beauty of natural gas in the state of Ohio. Now, you were talking about drilling horizontal. That's called hydraulic fracturing, is it not, or no?
That is not, yeah,
Okay.
that's a misnomer. So a lot of folks are trying to take something that's part of the process and make it into a negative. So instead of drilling a vertical well and being able to withdraw the oil and natural gas around that one well bore, you drill a well down vertically, and then you turn and you go horizontally for actually a couple of miles. So when we're talking about impact to land, you are impacting this surface over here, but you're actually developing the minerals way out further. So in order to get that ancient oil and natural gas out, you do what they call hydraulic fracturing. So that is pumping water, sand, and soap and biocide. So the water breaks apart the formation. The sand scours the formation and kind of keeps it from coming back exactly like it was before. The surfactant, the soap, helps that sand and water slide down efficiently. And the biocide is we're taking fresh water from the river, and it has bugs in it. And when you go down that deep, it's 120 degrees down there, and it'll start to grow, and it'll start plugging up that formation. But it's not bad. I mean, it's the hand soap that we all wash our hands with every time we get ready to cook dinner.
And one of the nice things when you're talking about the horizontal aspect of that, something that has been somewhat controversial in the state of Ohio is the permit process to have horizontal drilling under state parks. Now, recently the commission in charge of that approved a certain number of permits to do so, but we're not seeing multiple derricks and oil wells and a lot of truck traffic in our state parks over this.
Yeah, it's really state lands of any kind, because state, I would guess the state of Ohio is the largest landowner in the state of Ohio. And a lot of it is simply unused either for parks or for any other purpose. And of course, most of the wells are not on state property, but it's really analogous to the United States government, which owns most of the state of Nevada and places like that. It's all things that are being unused. Of course, it's a rich source of minerals, but here in the state of Ohio, we can generate income and for the state of Ohio, but more importantly, we can generate jobs, we can generate energy. Folks get sick of public officials like me saying that Ohio is attractive because we have plenty of water, we have cheap energy, and we're right geographically in the center of about 2/3 of the United States, basically between the upper Mississippi and New York and the South. And that's why it's a great place to do business. And we need to continue to encourage people to use those resources. That's why people are going to come. That's why people are, among others, that Intel is here. And Brian has a history with Intel. And, it's, as we say, the largest economic development project in the history of the universe is right here in the state of Ohio. And that's, one of the reasons they chose us.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about your background with Intel. You kind of got your start in the corporate world there.
Yes, I have a degree in chemical engineering, and my first job was with Intel Corporation as a process engineer. I became a manager, area manager, worked in the development factory, met my wife Christy there. She is an industrial engineer from Purdue, and she was a safety manager and quality manager. So we were working in legacy factories, and then we helped start the first high-volume manufacturing facility, their first billion-dollar facility in New Mexico. And Christy was very instrumental in that, and I was doing the development process transfer, came down. So we worked there for 12 and 14 years, and we're very familiar with what they do and how they do it. And absolutely, they need water, and they need clean, reliable, steady energy. It is so critical in that process, and they need a skilled workforce.
So many things are developed from oil, petroleum products. Is that also part of the process? Where the chips come from? I mean, how does that work?
Not so much as part of the chip making process, because whenever you make the chips, you do it over 100 steps or so, and it's put a layer down, etch it off, pattern it, do that over and over and over again, and I was in charge of a couple different steps in that. But when you look at it, I told this story recently. When we worked at Intel Corporation, we worked in a clean room 10,000 times cleaner than an operating room. And in order to be there, you had to have HEPA filters. You had to have, the constant flow. But we had plastic face masks, we had plastic goggles, we had helmets. We looked like spacemen. It was if you remember the bunny suit commercial, that's what we looked like, but far less colorful. We only had the white bunny suits on, and you learn to recognize people just by the way they walk and their eyes. But the Tyvek suits that we had, everything else around it, something was made from oil at some point. Or the processing, getting the transportation to or from. Oil is not just a transportation energy, but it's also used in lubricants. It's also used in the manufacturing, the paints, the dyes, everything else that we have.
Rubber.
Rubber, absolutely. Tires, I heard that it's a barrel of oil to make each tire. So it's a part of the process that we don't even understand.
Yeah, and it's also a job driver. Would you agree with that, President Huffman?
Well, yes, and now you gave me a chance to say that John Rockefeller built his first refinery in Lima, Ohio, and it's still there. It's the largest, or the longest continuously operating oil refinery in the world. And it's now Cenovus. It's gone through a couple of name changes, no longer Standard Oil. And next to the refinery are 6 chemical companies, and they produce a whole variety of products. I sat in a presentation a few weeks ago. For example, one of the products that's made at facilities helps produce 85% of the world's insulin. So, folks don't really think, they just know, well, where do you get insulin? Well, you get it from the doctor or the pharmacist, or you order it. Well, no, somebody has to make it, and it's a complex process. So all of those, my brother used to work at the oil refinery, and he'd say the oil comes in, and if you want diesel, you put it at this temperature, and if you want gasoline, it's this temperature, and kerosene, and all of those kinds of things. But there's dozens and dozens of products that can come from one barrel of oil. So the complexity of that, there's no reason why the public should know all that. We have chemical engineers who figure that out, or industrial engineers. And it's really it's something we all take for granted.
Oh, yeah. Your refrigerator gaskets come from an extrusion die that was a petroleum part of the process.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. And anybody who flies on a plane is glad they have enough jet fuel to get them where they're going.
You bet.
And to add to that, we were talking about electric vehicles just a moment ago. A lot of folks think that, where does the electricity come from? It comes from a plug in the wall. Well, you got to chase that back. It comes from a power plant, and what's driving that power plant? It's natural gas driving that power plant.
Tell me a little bit about jobs. Believe it or not, I used to pump an oil well on a farm, and we pumped off the crude, and then we used the natural gas to heat the shop, to heat the farmhouse, and also an A-frame, and maybe pumped it twice during the winter just to keep the pressure up. but it's a hard job, and somebody has to be there to do that job. How important is the industry to the job picture in your district in Southeast Ohio?
It's very important because every well, your well may need to be pumped twice a month. Other wells need to be pumped 4 times a day. And so you have to figure out what your field will do. And it's actually evolved considerably. So when my father-in-law started the company, it was one set of rules. Now it's a completely regulation and just the way you operated a well. Now it's completely different because now you have the horizontal players. So you've taken 400 wells off the market and replaced it with one horizontal well that is far more efficient, but it's far more complex. You have to have different fittings, different flanges, different training. It takes different drilling rigs, different skill sets. So the industry has evolved significantly, and it's spent over $100 billion in Ohio since the shale revolution, as they call it.
Amazing. State Senator Brian Chavez, thanks so much for your time. Congratulations on the new post.
Thank you.
We look forward to hearing much more from you. And as always, Senator Huffman, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, John.
Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you soon.